Meditation is not a relaxation, it's neural training. When you sit in meditation, you're not trying to stop thinking. You're training something far more fundamental. So meditation is not relaxation. This is one of the topics that comes up many, many times with me. Most people misunderstand. They think meditation is a way to relax, to calm down, to feel better. And sometimes it does that, but mostly as a side effect, not as a purpose. At its core, meditation is not a technique of relaxation. It is a training. It is a cultivation of awareness, cultivation of presence. It is an evolution of how your brain and body learn to experience themselves, or what I like to say is cultivate the awareness of experience itself. And this distinction truly matters. And it really matters greatly when you are learning to meditate, because your approach to meditation as relaxation will limit the benefit only to that. And actually, you will only use meditation when you're actually overwhelmed. So I sometimes tell people it's like people use pills. So instead of a medication to relax, they use meditation to relax, replacing a pill. But if you understand that meditation fundamentally is a training, it's an act of self-love, it's an act of self-growth, you begin to see that meditation is not something that you, after you have finished your work, you have gone home, you have done everything, and then you start meditating. It is something that fundamentally changes how you show up as a human being in everyday life. Or rather, sometimes I like to say, how life shows up for you as well. So let me begin by saying again, meditation is not a relaxation. It is neural training. It is the process by which you reshape how your brain directs attention, how it processes stress, everything that life imposes on us. It also helps you reconstruct your sense of self. At workplace, most people are tired and even overwhelmed, not because they are doing too much in their life, but they're tired because their attention is continuously getting pulled in a million different directions, making their consciousness very fragmented. And every time it gets fragmented, they have to reassemble. Every notification that comes in, every context switch from one meeting to the other, every unfinished loop. The brain is not designed for this level of continuous interruption. So what happens is that to remain focused, to have attention, becomes very effortful. And when awareness collapses, even when you are productive, you feel very depleted and drained and overwhelmed. Now, when you begin to weave meditation into your everyday life, meditation begins to reverse this, not by reducing or removing work, but by changing the way brain engages with it. See, when you sit in meditation, you're not trying to stop thinking. You're training something far more fundamental. You're training the ability to notice where attention goes and to gently bring it back again and again and again. Each time you bring your attention back to where it needs to be, you are strengthening your neural pathways, not as a concept, but like literally physically, the wiring in your brain is changing. You are changing how stable your attention is, how reactive your emotional system is, how quickly you recover from stress. And over time, something very, very subtly will begin to shift. You are no longer inside every thought. You begin to see things for what they are. At work, this changes everything, because most people don't struggle with workload. They struggle with reactivity. An email arrives and the mind immediately reacts. A meeting goes wrong And the story begins of what they could have, should have done better. As this pressure builds, the body really tightens. And this happens almost on an automatic pilot without any awareness at all. Now, meditation inserts a space, a moment where you see the reaction and you become it. So you don't have a reaction. You can begin to see that the reaction is arising within me. And in that space, there is a choice. The choice means it's not forced that you have to take it. It's not theoretical that you have to go back to your note or the self-help book you read to understand what that choice looks like. But that choice is real, in the here, in the now. And this is what meditation trains. Not calm only, but clarity, the capacity to penetrate the noise and see what's really happening. Not an escape, but the ability to remain present in the middle of the inevitable chaos of life, in the middle of the complexity that work supposes and proposes to us. Over time, this does become about practice. And not practice that is just sitting down on a yoga cushion, but it becomes about a practice of how you live. You listen differently. You respond rather than react. You move through work with the same internal friction, but not succumbing to it, not getting logged into that internal friction. See, it's important to recognize the external world may not change, but your experience of the external world does change dramatically. And that is where real, sustainable performance and real well-being that you're cultivating one day at a time begins to come. Now, this is where real intelligence begins to meet your body. Meditation was never supposed to take you out of life to go to Himalayas or a forest or on a beach or a yoga studio. It was meant to return you in full awareness back to it, with a mind that is trained enough to meet it with clarity, and a body that is designed for resilience in spite of whatever life throws at you. So let me frame it this way. Relaxation is a side effect of meditation. It is not a purpose. Creating deep awareness of yourself and present moment awareness are the purpose of meditation. So you must invite meditation into your life to become more connected, more present, more resilient. This will, by side effect, produce more relaxation and also more productivity. So meditation is a part of life. It's not an escape from it. And you will harvest the fruit of it in your health, in your well-being, your productivity at work, and your capacity to be resilient in face of adversity and stress. That is how I invite you to look at meditation.